You ever have one of those moments when someone's nerve is so outrageous, you almost gotta respect the confidence? That's exactly how my Saturday started. I was in my backyard pool, beer in hand, sun on my face, thinking I'd finally earned a quiet weekend. Then I heard sneakers screech on concrete, and this sharp teenage voice bark. "Hey, old man, you need to get out of there." I opened one eye, and there he was, some kid, maybe 17, dripping in designer clothes, arms crossed like he owned the place. "This pool's community property," he said. "My mom runs the HOA, so unless you want to deal with her, you'd better leave." Now, you gotta understand, I'd moved into this neighborhood, Maple Ridge Estates, about 6 months earlier. Looked perfect on paper. Quiet streets, fresh paint, lawns trimmed like golf courses. But what I didn't know was that this place was ruled by one woman, Donna Blake, self-appointed queen of the HOA. The type who thinks rules are sacred unless they apply to her. She introduced herself on my third day there, showed up with muffins and that fake smile people wear when they're already judging you. "Welcome to the neighborhood," she'd said, holding her clipboard like a badge of honor. "Just wanted to make sure you got the handbook, 47 pages of regulations." That was the moment I realized I hadn't joined a community. I joined a cult, with bylaws. From then on, I watched her terrorize the neighborhood. She fined an old widow named Mrs. Clark because her mailbox was too beige. She made a young couple repaint their house because she didn't like the shade of blue. And her son, that kid who yelled at me by the pool, Ethan, he was learning from the best. Loud parties, trash everywhere, parking across driveways. The kind of arrogance that only grows when no one ever tells you no. And no one ever did. Everyone was scared of Donna. She'd show up with her phone out, snapping pictures of lawns or measuring fence heights, then threaten fines if anyone pushed back. She'd built this little empire of fear, and somehow people just accepted it. Me? I stayed quiet. Watched. Listened. Because here's the thing. I'm not just some guy with a pool. I work in public service. County level. Let's just say my job involves knowing when rules are being broken, and how to prove it. So I started collecting things. Photos, videos, little details about how Donna and Ethan operated. Nothing dramatic, just quiet documentation. I figured someday I might need it. And that day came faster than I expected. Back to that Saturday. Ethan's still standing there, smirking like I'm trespassing on his royal property. "This whole area's community land," he insists, waving his phone like it's gospel. I take a sip of my beer and tell him, "Son, you might want to check your maps again. This pool's on private land. I've got the deed to prove it." His face turns red. "You're lying. My mom showed me the documents." "Then your mom needs better sources," I say, trying not to laugh. "Now I'm asking you nicely, leave my property." He pulls out his phone, muttering, "You're done." I'm calling her. 5 minutes later, the gate slams open. Donna storms in wearing Lululemon and righteous fury. "What's going on here?" she demands, at me, not her son. "Your kid trespassed," I say, still calm. "I've asked him to leave. Now I'm asking you both." She pulls up some fake HOA map on her phone, claiming the pool's community property. According to official HOA records, she says, this space belongs to everyone. Then everyone's been trespassing for 6 months, I tell her. Because I paid for this land. She narrows her eyes, threatening fines, legal action, community violations. Meanwhile, Ethan's filming me like he's making a documentary called Old Man Loses It. Neighbors peeked through their curtains, but nobody said a word. That's when it hit me. This wasn't just a personal feud. This was fear. A whole neighborhood living under one woman's thumb. So I smiled, lifted my phone, and showed them my own camera's red light blinking. I'd been recording the whole thing. "Consequences," I murmured. "You're about to learn about those." That night, Mrs. Clark, the widow, knocked on my door with a trembling casserole dish. She told me everything. The threats, the fines, how she skipped medication just to pay off bogus citations. Then came the Johnsons, the Chins, the Webbs, all with stories that made my blood boil. Donna had fined, bullied, and humiliated them for years. By Sunday, I'd had enough. Monday morning, she called an emergency HOA meeting. Said it was to discuss my disrespectful behavior. I knew what that meant. She planned to make an example out of me. What she didn't know was that I was planning something too. When I walked into that meeting, the place was packed. Every chair taken, neighbors lining the walls. Donna sat at the head table, perfect hair, smug smile, surrounded by her hand-picked board members. Ethan was in the front row, camera ready. She started with this big speech about community values and standards of behavior. Then she threw my picture up on a projector, me by the pool, and called me a rule breaker, a liar, a threat. She even said I'd harassed her son. The crowd murmured. I could feel the weight of their fear, their silence. When she finally paused, she gave me that smirk again. Would the accused like to defend himself? Actually, I said, standing, I would. I pulled out a folder. Let's start with this property issue. Here's my deed, county stamped. Here's the survey map. And here's a letter from zoning confirming none of this land is HOA property. She tried to wave it off, but I wasn't done. Next, I said, about these harassment claims. I pulled up my phone logs. One single call to Ethan, 43 seconds long, asking him to stop honking outside my house. Would you like me to play the recording? Her face went pale. Then I hit play on a tablet showing footage from Friday night. Ethan's BMW pulling up to my house. Him and a bunch of kids hopping the fence, trashing my yard, throwing bottles into my pool. The room went dead silent except for the sound of breaking glass echoing from the video. This, I said quietly, is what harassment looks like. Donna tried to interrupt, but the neighbors were already whispering. So I kept going. I've got 6 months of this. Every fake fine, every threat, every neighbor you intimidated. I turned to the crowd. Mrs. Clark, you want to tell them about the gnomes? She stood up, voice shaking. She fined me $200 for decorations I've had since my husband was alive. Then the Johnsons spoke, then Marcus Webb. One by one, people stood up, voices trembling but strong. Years of fear turned into a wave of truth. Donna shouted over them. You're all lying. This is coordinated slander. Actually, I said, it's evidence. And then I reached into my pocket, pulled out my badge, and laid it on the table. Name's Sheriff Daniel Harris, County Sheriff. And Donna, this meeting is officially under investigation. You could have heard a pin drop. Ethan's phone slipped out of his hand. The board members looked like they wanted to disappear. Donna started yelling about abuse of power, but it was too late. I radioed my deputies, who were waiting outside. They came in quietly, professional, just doing their job. Ethan lost it, pushed me in the chest, screaming about how his family owned this neighborhood. I didn't even blink. Congratulations, I said. That just added assaulting an officer to your list of charges. The handcuffs clicked, and the room erupted. Donna tried to block his arrest, threatening everyone, but my deputies escorted her out when she refused to calm down. For the first time, people in that room looked free. A board member, Gerald, stood up, all in favor of removing Donna Blake as HOA president. Every hand went up. Every single one. That night, Mrs. Clark hugged me. Thank you, she whispered, for standing up when no one else could. 3 weeks later, Ethan was sentenced to community service and restitution for the damages, $12,000 worth. Donna, facing civil suits from half the neighborhood and a state audit for embezzling HOA funds. Turns out, justice doesn't care how many muffins you bake. Now, Maple Ridge feels like a real community. The fences got repainted, kids laugh again, and Mrs. Clark's gnomes are back guarding her garden like tiny soldiers. Last month, we held a community pool day. Yeah, at my pool. Folks brought food, shared stories, even laughed about the whole ordeal. Someone asked me, Sheriff, why didn't you just tell us who you were from the start? I smiled. Because people like Donna only show their true selves when they think no one's watching. And I needed her to show me exactly who she was. You know, I've learned something through all this. Bullies, whether they run an HOA or a company or a classroom, they feed on silence. They survive because good people get tired, scared, or convinced it's not worth fighting. But the moment someone says enough, their power cracks. So tell me, if you'd been living under someone like Donna, would you have spoken up sooner, or waited like I did? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I really want to know where you stand on this one, because sometimes justice takes time, but when it finally lands, it's worth every second.